Hey, boys and girls, weather report for April 26th, 2021. So, what's happening? Several things. And that, whatever that was.
That was my granddaughter.
Okay. So, yeah, good. New panelist.
Apparently, she likes worms, so we can need to get Brainbug on here. And they can talk worms.
Oh, that's right. Is this the bug one? The one that wasn't good?
Yes, I know. I actually I was trying to go through Brainbug's videos last night to show us some stuff, and I couldn't. She says, "Oh, I want to see a spider," and I'm trying to find something in there. And yeah, I actually did that last night. So, yeah. So one of these days, maybe I'll someday I'll hook up with Brainbug and I don't know, he can show her a bug and she can talk to him or something. I don't know. That would be kind of funny, but
it is Orgay 343, isn't it?
Yes, it is. ORGE 343.
Is it Orgay or Orgy?
I call it Orgay, but I don't know how it's pronounced.
Yeah, I call it Orgay. Orgay 343.
But sometimes I accidentally call him 311 because we have an Eric 311 that's always listening in. Yep. So I get them switched sometimes.
I have let's see, what was I gonna say? Shit. Totally lost it. Anyway, I identified a new species, Creotardus eukayocii, on what is it? Evidence and Reasons channel. The host, that's his species.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a couple of different. There's Creotardus abio, which is a simpler, yet in some ways more complicated species. And then there's like Creotardus homo on SFT's channel, and I've identified these different species. What is it? Creotardus logico, low PP. That's his brand is going through logic and information. So I don't know, maybe it should be for Informatica, because I did identify these species. So Creotardus informatica, is that a good one for low PP? So I'm trying to identify.
I look forward to your journal paper.
Yeah, it depends on what particular part of evolution they insist that we should explain before they switch to another part of evolution that they insist we can't explain. Because if you do start explaining the part that they're interested in, they'll quickly switch. The neat thing about Creotardus is it switches, it appears to switch species over and over again. Every time you try to pin it down, every time you put a pin in it, it becomes another species. So if you start talking about eukaryotic evolution, they'll start talking about abiogenesis. And they're clever that way. And what it's called is disingenuine, or what? No, what is the word I'm looking for? Disingenuous? Yeah, something like that. Much like, let's see. Okay, so Orgay, there you are, Orgay. I gotta put an invite out about it. We were gonna show the video you just did, or maybe talk about it. Underage rocks. I want to know the scoop on this.
That's a hilarious title.
Underage rocks.
Let's see. How about Matt Powell? He is that kid. I don't watch.
Was he dumb?
Much, but yeah, And you know, I mean, what little videos I've seen is like the one Orgay has on there, and it's just him with a handful of people in the pews there, and you know, he's doing these, you know, these lectures, I guess you'd call it. It's certainly not a sermon, right? It's some sort of a scientific lecture, if you would call it that, right? It's really, I mean, it's just like made up, right? Like, does he actually do that, or I don't know.
I think they pray and pray and pray just before they present their sermon, and it just feels so right what they're saying that they just feel like they're justified in saying it.
Good morning, fellas. Or
Hey,
afternoon.
Midnight, how are you?
Hey, Midnight.
I am feeling so fine right now. Well, I guess I should say happy, or let's see, dopamine rush. I don't know. I'm just good right now. Thank you, Scott.
Oh, the
No,
antidepressants
I'm
finally
glad you're
kicked
okay.
in.
What was that?
The antidepressants finally kicked in.
You know I don't take those. Like,
Okay.
like that's you, buddy.
Orgay's
I just.
Orgay's video is in the description. So the one that we're looking at on the screen. There,
I
so.
love Vegeta. Like, it's over 9,000. No, it should say it's over 6,000. I don't know. Shit, somebody
You
should
are
make a
feeling
meme.
good, Midnight. Hey.
Yes, I am.
Sure
Yes,
does.
I am.
Neffy,
And life
oh,
is
Neffy.
great. Life is great, Orgay, isn't it?
I suppose
Like,
so.
woo!
Yeah, Neffy's not even the same species, so I appreciate the name. It's pretty good.
I mean, you know what? Never mind. I'm just gonna take that as a joke and rather, you know, and not a dehumanization.
Anyway, let's see. What else was that? What was I going to say? Shit, I keep losing it. I just woke up.
Also, Scott, I'm sorry. Speed moved me up and moved you down.
No, I moved down. I moved myself down so that people can see who's talking.
Oh,
Well, then now nobody can see you.
That doesn't matter.
You can move me down. There. Now you're on top, Scott, where you belong.
Oh man, I'm the top hyena.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
shouldn't the
very
channel
More impressive.
hold on? Shouldn't the channel owner always be on top?
That's what I think.
All right,
I
so
don't know.
you see
Or
who's
the
here
middle
now.
square. If it's a grid of squares, he needs to be the middle square.
Yeah.
So Danny was on a channel last night, and he was saying that I took 2 days off. It might have been the weekend, and Danny forgot. Didn't notice that I take weekends off. But he said that he was afraid that he had killed me, and that I was going to be thinking horrible thoughts about Danny while I died, and he felt bad. So he said. So he said I mean, you notice how polite he's been lately and how non-confrontational he's been? Well, he's doing that on purpose. He's doing that on purpose so he doesn't kill me because he thinks I'm really old and feeble and that he can, kill me. And
Oh, that is precious. That is adorable.
So here's what I want to do. Me and Danny, mud wrestling contest. We can meet like somewhere in Missouri or we can meet in the middle. But me and Danny mud wrestling contest and see how.
I got to for a second, just a second.
Wait,
Okay. He looks like he weighs about 72 pounds. I'm pretty sure.
look, hold on. You gotta be mud wrestling naked because I'm pretty sure he'd be into that.
No,
Danny would be into that.
Well, yeah, we can do that. I don't know if he wants. I'd prefer not to do naked, but it's up to him. I can do it either way. I don't really give a shit anymore. I have no pride. But.
Wow. Okay. That's just like I don't know. It's just weird. Except maybe is it whatever.
Speed, did you get a chance to watch his duet with his wife there that he did?
I did.
What duet? Can we watch that, please? Can we watch that? Or no?
It was a violin duet he did with his wife, and I thought it was really cute. I mean, it was funny because I went on. It was Jay's channel. Jay Spatchcock was doing a live channel, and I said to Scott, I said, "Oh, I just sent Speed." I wrote in the chat, "I just sent Speed the video, Danny's video," because Speed said he wanted to see the duet. And I said, "Yeah, it was kind of funny." Danny Danny really, I mean, you could tell he had a really good time. You know, if you watch it, he had a long interaction with Pine Creek. And those two, like probably a week ago or so, they had an interaction and it didn't go so well. They had kind of a good battle probably like a week ago, right? So they had, you know, yeah, they kind of will, you know, not really fighting, but whatever. So then they had this other interaction. Was it yesterday? The day before yesterday, and it went really good. Right? They had a great conversation, long interaction, and Danny really like he was having a good time, and Danny was really revealing a lot of stuff about his personal life, which you know everybody's like, holy shit, you know, we're kind of shocked, but he's done that before. I mean, it's not like he's never revealed that.
Can you link it in the side chat or just I don't know? Like I'm curious to watch this now.
Yeah. So then he did, and then he, you know, he introduced his wife to Pine. You know how Pine Creek is. He's, you know, he's a good guy, and you know, he's a jokester. He jokes around, and so it, you know, it was they were joking around, and he says, you know, he wanted to meet Danny's wife, and he goes, "Oh, you want to meet her?" And Danny brought his wife over and everything. So it was good. It was a good conversation, and you could tell, or at least in my perspective, I could tell Danny was having a great time about it. It was kind of funny. And, you know, revealing quite a bit of personal stuff. He introduced his wife to Pine Creek, and then they did a duet, you know, a violin duet and all that. And it was funny. It was pretty good.
Oh, so Praise did a thing last night too. What was that one called? Praise.
Accuser.
Praise.
Probably.
So,
I don't know. That was the name of Jay's stream.
So our own Andrew Cumming went up against Darth Dawkins. Now the weird thing is Darth Dawkins has been showing up in all of the channels that we're familiar with lately because of Otangelo, I think. And
you think?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. But so Darth has been showing up more and more, and he's doing he does this same little show over and over again. Who's moving furniture?
Sorry.
Mute, Tanya. Okay.
I turned my mic off. Same thing.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, and then Randolph Richardson got on, and he went around and around with him because, you know, Darth Dawkins, I think I don't know who challenged who, but it was interesting. So there were 2 1-hour segments on Low Peepee's channel, and it was pretty funny. And then prior to that, I think there was a session where who was going no, it was pretty much Darth Dawkins. There was somebody else before Darth Dawkins and Andrew. Oh, Andrew was talking to, I think, SFT, and
I'm back.
And Illogical. Yeah. So you're back, okay?
Yep.
Anyway, but so that happened, and we're going to go over that probably tomorrow because I'm waiting for an event, but we might do it tonight. I talked to Andrew Cumming can't be here today, or Rational Empiricist, because I think he has classes all day or something. So, or at least till 5:30. But anyway, so that's happening. But Orge, so is there a part of this that we should highlight to advertise that people could go over and watch the rest of it, or?
So there's 2 parts of this video. There's Matt Powell just blatantly lying about something, and then there's the explanation of the Mount St. Helens eruptions.
Oh,
so
he gets into that. Oh no.
Well, yeah, it's the classic claim of we dated these rocks with argon dating, and they're 10 years old, but they appear to be 2 million years old.
Right.
Radiometric dating is false.
So what did they do? Did they not tell the lab?
Couple things. I cover this stuff a little bit at the end. I provide links to more, of course, but the machine they used isn't sensitive enough to measure under 2 million. So It's going to give false errors by definition. They don't take into account the chance of xenocrysts, which are outside parts of the rock in there. They barely cover that. There's different ways that argon amounts can be inflated. They're just plain out doing it wrong. They only had 5 samples, so if you didn't have an outlier, you wouldn't be able to tell. 1,000 different things of like basic science that you should follow, he didn't. And then Matt Powell does his best Kent Hovind impression here, which is ass of ass paper. And it's just like 5 asses stacked on top of one another, you know?
Okay. So should I play the beginning or
whatever's good? I mean, it's my content's so good, you know. Any place really counts. Let's be honest.
Wow, modest, aren't you?
Well, you know, them YouTube dollars just are so much money.
Yep.
somebody had themselves an echo? Does anybody know who that is?
It wasn't me.
Oh, Will Kincaid is here. Oh my goodness. Okay. Whoops. What have I done?
That looks like Brainbug has something too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you
Yeah,
say
if
that
you wanna
after
watch it,
every weather report?
What's that?
Don't you say that after every weather report?
What's that?
What have I done?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah. And right before I say,
I do that, but I like put my forehead in my palms and kind of look down and go, "Oh, what have I done? You know,
what have I done?" That actually, the first few YouTube videos I did, that's how I felt. It's like, oh my God, what have I done? Why did I do this? You get used to it. Anyway. Okay, I'm going to play a little bit. Right here?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
But let's take this fresh
Why
rock
can't I hear him?
and let's send them to 5 different laboratories.
What the hell?
I can hear him.
You can?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
I can hear him.
We'll use the best laboratories, the best radiometric daters.
And here we have our first example of a bullshit lie by Matt Powell. If you go to the paper that he doesn't cite, by the way, I had to go find it myself. You go to the paper, you read the part about the radiometric dating process. It says that they sent all 5 samples to the same laboratory. Did you not read the paper you're talking about here, Matt Powell? Or do you just copy other people's work verbatim, Kent Hovind, and present it as if it's some new exciting material? I wonder which one it is.
Really makes you think.
One sample came back at the Geocron laboratories as 340,000 years old. Now keep in mind, this rock is less than 10 years old. Second sample came back as 350,000 years, 900,000 years. One came back as 7 million years old. This is the dating method that they're saying.
If you want to do
is
the
reliable,
actual
we can date
geology,
the
you can
crust
skip
of the
more
Earth
towards the end.
using
It's up
this
to you.
method.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, skipped about to like 2/3 of the way through. Now start hitting on it.
About right here?
Yeah, that's actually the start of it. So.
Oh, that is it.
Yeah, right there. That's good. Your understanding of the topic. This is a primer. This is a short little excerpt about what we're talking about here. Link below are plenty of websites and articles on these subjects if you want to know more. Now, that being said, what Matt Powell is talking about here is work done by Steve Austin in the mid-90s with the express purpose of disproving radiometric dating. And he does a lot of glaring flaws in this work. First, the laboratory he used and the method he used do not work well for young rocks. Argon has a very long half-life. You don't get a lot of radioactive decay in 10 years. Geocron laboratories themselves state their machines are not accurate enough to measure things younger than 2 million years old. Big shock when they fail to accurately measure them, right? Secondly, the stupid argument of we clean the shit well, therefore no possible contamination was present is a horrible argument. There is always an outlier or bad data in every scientific experiment. The way you get past that is not perfectly cleaning, because that's not possible. It's mass of samples. A n equals 5 from the same fucking boulder isn't going to give you the variety of samples rich enough to negate those errors. A third issue with all this is xenocrysts. These are parts of the lava that formed from older material and may not be the same age as the lava itself. Austin claims that they didn't have any xenocrysts because they looked at stuff thoroughly under a microscope. But how do they know that? The paper is so brief in its explanation of these principles that I can't be for certain xenocrysts aren't contributing to the older age of this material. Since this rock is pulverized for the test, you can't weed that stuff out once it's crushed up. Of course, we'll have to take his word on it, but again, since the paper itself is so lacking information, and they only had 5 samples they tested, you don't know. It can be difficult to distinguish xenocrysts from native phenocrysts, for example. Beyond these few issues, there are many problems with Austin's paper, and the fact that it's so often touted as proof that radiometric dating doesn't work is a huge red flag. I don't know of any more recent work in this field by creationists. Apparently, one paper is all it takes to destroy the field of radiometric dating, I guess. If they did more work, if they found more samples, and this was more consistent, maybe you'd be able to ask these questions.
Oh, you want me to
That's
do the
basically
questions? Yeah. So you only got 3 views. Everybody should go. This thing is linked in the description. Go and like it and watch it over there. Watch the entire thing on Orie's channel.
I guess I don't get the chance very often. Are there any critiques about how I do videos? Like, is there something wrong with this style, or like?
No, yours are so much better than ours. In fact, I was going to ask you what you're using and how you do it. Because that's pretty good. You did really well.
Oh, all right. I just use DaVinci Resolve. It's free.
Okay.
And it's got a learning curve, but it's no worse than any other powerful video editor,
Right. I keep getting harangued with emails from one of them. I forget what the hell, Lightworks or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, Lightworks. And they charge like, I don't know, 40 or $50 a month, I think, or something like that for their pro version.
Yeah.
And they don't tell you what the free version leaves out, which I really fucking hate. So oftentimes you download the free version, you find out that what they leave out is, you can only store the first 5 minutes of a video on the free version, right? Yeah. It's like, okay. So I spent hours trying to figure out how to use something, and it turns out it's absolutely useless unless I give you $50 a month. But I might look at it. I don't know. But okay, DaVinci Resolve. We'll take a look at that one.
Yep, I can throw the link in the Prime chat if you want. It's free. It's probably not as good as like the Adobe or something like that.
Yeah.
But being free is just so nice. All you gotta do is quote unquote register. I put my name as L, I put my name as a letter, and I put my my town as a letter, and stuff like that.
Yep. Where is let's see, the next thing I was going to show. So you wanted to see the violin concerto or whatever, or solo, or whatever you want to call it. Who wanted to see that?
Midnight did.
Midnight wanted to see that.
Yep.
So let's see.
By the way, I'm also rearranging books, so that's what you heard before.
Oh.
Yeah, I did mute.
You did?
Yes. Why do you think you didn't hear me?
Oh, so you're still rearranging books. I see.
Well, I'm sitting down. I'm sitting down right now.
Anyway, it's right here. Boy, I keep hoping I'm going to wake up any moment now, but it's just not happening.
I have a quick question. Why did you put it in fielder mode? I mean, it's it's normal now, but you put it in fielder mode before, like now.
Because it's a theater act.
It's a theater act.
Yeah. He's going to do a theater act right now.
I mean, that's fair, I guess. But there's no sound.
Luke, do you want to be my friend?
That would be creepy. Like if I have
that
would be creepy.
Why are you speeding it?
But you're so good at creating questions, right? Like all you've got to do is do this.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's the advice they always do. Ask questions.
Like.
Okay, I think we're ready to start.
I mean, like I'm thinking like this, right? So if how you are,
We're
We're
set
gonna
now.
play
That's
a little.
Okay. Here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
Do we have to do the whole thing?
I mean, it's only like what, 2 minutes? I don't know.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Oh my.
This
Oh
is
wow.
Amazing. Okay, everybody be quiet.
Let me play a scale. Can you play something to test the audio?
Yeah, that should be good.
That's good. Okay, here we go. You ready? Okay, I'm probably gonna mess up though. Okay. That's all. I'm like, it's
Okay. It could be the only thing that Danny's competent at.
I know, right?
Hey,
I'm
credit where
jealous.
credit's due. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
envious of that.
And there you go. Their love will last forever, right?
I
Well,
mean,
at least they have something to do together.
More power
Yep.
to them.
I mean, you know what? I don't. It doesn't matter.
She,
so-
I mean, I've never heard it. She's got a PhD in violinist, or that's what he's called it. I don't, or I would think it
don't
would be
think
in.
that's really
Oh,
a
like she went to
thing,
school for
like-
music, sort of thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
but
I went to
he,
school for music
he-
theory, but
right. Well, that's what I thought, but he said it was like in violin, which I don't. I mean, she had to do like her dissertation and play a certain, really difficult piece. Was like her. That's what was her dissertation, I believe. That's what he
Wow.
said. He explained it. He talked about it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if he comes sometime, he can explain it. But yeah, that's what he said.
I'm pretty sure if you go to school for music at higher levels, you do like choose an instrument.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
I
think
mean, I could definitely believe it.
Yeah, I think that's basically what he was saying. I mean, I've never heard of that myself, but yeah, that's what he was saying.
I have friends that have done that sort of stuff in college, and yeah, real good piano player, or trombone, or tuba, whatever you choose.
Yep.
So Danny John Maddox keeps predicting that we're going to do the weather report about him, and we keep forgetting to do that, and I feel kind of bad. So we'll maybe show a few
Yes.
things from it.
Yes.
Ooh.
He. Yeah.
Is this the
Keep
one where
saying that.
Is this one where Danny went at Darth Dawkins, or
No,
so Randolph went after Darth Dawkins recently? That's
Randolph and Andrew both. went
Yeah,
after
that's
Darth
right.
Dawkins. Yeah. So hang on a second. I want to put this in the.
No,
let me play.
Yeah,
Go
I hate
ahead.
to admit it, but that Darth Dawkins interview I did is doing mad numbers for my channel.
Oh yeah. They always do.
I feel bad, like I'm dirty somehow for getting the views and the subs.
Yeah, the most views that I ever get is when he shows up, and that's really sick.
It really is, isn't it? Isn't it? Though?
Because it's just pure dumpster fire bullshit,
Yep.
It's just,
Yep.
I don't know what the hell's wrong with people. We try to do good science papers. Our paper trails get about 70 views. Nobody loves us,
Yeah.
I hate
Yeah,
that.
I was noticing that today. How I think that one time that Garth Dawkins came on, we got 400 some odd views. Our Saturday nights at the Atheist will get in the upper hundreds, but then the paper trails are just get abysmally low views. But it's a special thing.
Yep.
At least
That Leo clip got 1,100 views on my channel. It got like I don't know, I think 1,000 on Leo's channel, and I don't know how many thousand on Rabbit's channel. So it's just like that one little clip got probably
people hate Garth Dawkins enough to watch. So any channel that caters to that hate is gonna do mad money. Or mad
does anybody else get vertigo when you listen to him go in and out of subject? When he's equivocating at his best, you get vertigo trying to track him.
I mean, I stopped listening to him. It's better for my health.
So yeah, we're going to get into a little more, but he defines God as basically being the cosmos. In most of the questions he asks an atheist, right?
I had a comment on my video that I think summed it up well. Give me a second to go find it real quick.
Okay, but then
what the hell was it?
When I talked to Leo, or I think I watched him with Leo, that second thing he did with Leo, the debate rematch, he did add to it that God had a mind, and that was the first time I heard him extend his definition of God a little bit. So anyway, I want to find that clip because that's very important. The way he defines it as the source of all possibility.
Yeah, I found the clip. Let me read this real quick. Bro Watt commented on my Darth Dawkins video. Darth's starting definition of a God. Quote, God is that which is ultimate, absolute, and fundamental, the source of all possibility and impossibility, end quote. To me, this looks similar to the concept of a necessary being. Well, whether or not you call such Darth's necessary being, the definition nowhere implies, let alone entails, a mind or personal agent.
Or a being.
Goes on. Yeah, exactly. So Darth's basically threw a bunch of bigger words together with the God exists because God must exist argument,
Yeah, God exists because the cosmos must exist, or God exists because reality, right?
Yeah, that big circle, yeah. And then you disprove that circles are circular sort of thing. Well, what?
Yeah.
Well, I do have a quick question as to circular reasoning is always fallacious.
That one is. Go ahead.
Well, no, I just that's the thing is that that's the question. Like, is circular reasoning always fallacious? Fallacious. Yes.
Circular evidence isn't, or circular.
Well, I mean,
not necessarily. I don't think.
Well, this is actually a point that I hope that book on critical thinking addresses. But aren't there some axioms that we hold to be true? Therefore, one could say that our reasoning is kind of circular at times.
Yeah. We find ourselves in the middle of life in the universe, and we look around and we do the best we can to understand it. And it's inherent, but instead of circular, you don't want to think of circular. You want to think of a network or a woven cloth of information, and that's what
I agree with Speed there. It's not that circular arguments are just always shite. It's more so that you need other stuff to go along with it.
Well, yeah, that was my question, right? Because because it always says, "Oh, that's a circular argument," and it's always used fallaciously to show that an argument is wrong, which I don't think anyone ever brings up the possibility that a circular argument can be valid. Like, what I mean? It's always used fallaciously.
But the argument being circular doesn't prove that the argument is valid. An argument can be valid and then also be circular. Geologists have that rocks date the fossils, fossils date the rock things, right?
Yeah, that's the point I'm making.
True,
right?
But to a certain extent, it is a self-feeding loop because there's other things to verify it.
Well, if you listen to like Alex Malpass, I think Ozzy Mendez did some stuff. This is listen to that stuff this is going back a while, but he does a lot of, because back then Darth Dawkins was a big to do even back then. And this is probably going back about a year and a half, something like that. And those guys had interactions with Darth, and they did some videos back then, and they talked about this, of course, Darth's arguments are circular, right? And they went over all that stuff, and he did some videos with Matt Dillahunty, and they talked, so anyway, they say that everybody's argument is technically circular, and it's right. And it's a difference between whether it's a virtual circle or a vicious circle, right? And I think when you break it down, everybody's argument is circular. That's the way they described it.
Yes.
And whether or not it's a virtual or vicious. If it's a vicious circle, then that's a fallacious argument.
Wait,
and it's
do you mean
invalid.
virtuous?
It's invalid. I think that's the correct terms. I think there's a few other terms that you can use in the circle. Right?
Yeah, a virtuous circle is the opposite of the vicious circle.
Right.
Virtuous circle? Yeah.
Right.
Virtuous.
So there's a couple of other terms I know, but if you look at some of their videos, they have some long, discussions, and really those guys obviously are, highly versed in that kind of stuff. And so I've learned a little bit from that, but that's basically what it boils down to, is that everybody's arguments are circular, and you can't get around that. And even Darth, years ago, he has admitted to that his argument is circular, and he's been pushed into that corner and has been asked, do you have anything against circular arguments? And he has admitted, saying that his argument is circular and he doesn't have a problem with circularity, and that's because everybody's is, no matter who you are or what you do. That's
I think his and I don't know. My speculation is that his ability to tolerate a circular argument comes from his great thought leader Cornelius Van Til, who says the starting point, the method, and the conclusion are always involved in one another. How could it be otherwise if God be God? In other words, if you have a God, it's going to be circular because it proceeds from him, and it has its source in him, and it glorifies him, and so on and so forth. But I think all systems of thought are going to get to a point where they can't be explained in terms of any other thing in that system. Those are called axioms, and that's just the nature of systems.
Yeah, and what you can do is your first premise can be something that you assume. So you can assume something in your argument, and then you can move forward and try to find out if there's a contradiction from that assumption. And if there's no contradiction from that assumption, then that assumption is still on the table. And like the way I describe a justification for naturalism is you assume naturalism, and you don't do it without justification, because we're all naturalists in our day-to-day lives, right? We all treat the world as if it's regular and natural. We do not treat the world as if there are going to be miracles. We don't sit down at the table and wait for your wife to serve dinner when you don't have a wife. That's a sexist thing to say, but anyway, so it's
bad you.
I mean,
bad on me. I'm from the 50s. Fuck you.
I mean, Speed, it's not really sexist. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Sadly.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's not
you.
really sexist,
Sadly?
but that's wow, really, Orge?
You're
Look,
riding too high, man.
Well,
Okay.
okay, look, I'm sorry. I'll tone it down. I just can't help it. It's been a fun. It's been a happy day. Okay.
Oh, well, that's the problem. No happiness on the internet.
Yeah, fuck that
yeah,
shit.
clearly.
Fuck
But
that.
no, Speed. What you said was not a sexist comment. Okay, just moving
yeah.
on.
Well, yeah, moving on. Anyway, so you can assume naturalism with justification, and then if naturalism can't explain everything that matters to you, you would have to reject it, right? Or if naturalism contains some contradiction, and it does not. It never does. So hence, I'm a naturalist, and I justify it thus, So And then what you know, like basically, we were talking yesterday, Scott and I, and what I always want to point out is when two philosophers get together and talk, they're like in their 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s or more, and they have been on this earth for a long time, and they've accumulated a great deal of knowledge. Well, I like to go back and consider, how did you accumulate that knowledge? Did you accumulate that knowledge by pure reason? Or did you perhaps accumulate that knowledge by flailing your arms around and poking yourself in the eye? So all that we acquire about naturalism takes a great many years to acquire. And by the time you have that together, it's this big network or meshwork or fabric of what we expect from reality. And it is, I call it common sense, and people don't like that word because they think, oh, common sense, there's something wrong with it. Fuck, there is. Common sense is what we all have and how we all operate in the world. It's how we put our socks on. And we put our socks on successfully day after day because of common sense.
Well, see, I like to view my day to day, like my day to day activities as an order of operations. Right, this is what I've been doing for years. For order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Right, okay. Taking a shower. Right, what is the order of operations with that? Or am I just going on? You know what? I don't fucking know. I think I'm going on a tangent, but I get what you mean.
Yes, as long as you don't go on a sign.
Yeah, that was just about like you were saying. Is that naturalism argument was? I think it was Graham Oppie, the interaction that he just had with Darth just a week or two ago, right? He was saying the same thing. After he was all done with Darth, he continued to explain his position, and I'm pretty sure it was him, right? It was Graham Oppie that talked about that he holds that position that naturalism is just a better explanation for him, and that was it.
Yeah, I'd like to see that video.
Yeah, that was just you. Well, if you look up, I could find it for you. I'd have to look that one up.
You know how I am when you mention a video.
Yeah.
And then everybody always says, "Oh, I can go find it for you," because I'm not competent. But
no, I thought you saw that though. Didn't you watch the Graham Oppie one? Because we talked about this a week ago or so when Darth came up, right? I know we talked about it. I didn't know. You didn't see that one, apparently.
Did I have a YouTube channel a week ago?
Yes, you did.
God damn it.
I know we talked about well, I mean, all these philosophers are different people because we brought up Darth in the past.
Yeah, I know we talked about Graham Oppie, but he's like, I thought it was in relation to his book on atheism and all of that. I wasn't sure about a video. Maybe.
Yeah, you mentioned that. We talked about that. But I thought you saw that video. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I just assumed I thought you did, but
maybe I did, but a week ago it's a long time. I kind of live in the now.
Yeah. Well,
you're talking about Graham Oppie versus Darth, that one?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's the one. If I'm not mistaken, I'd have to go back and look at it. But he, talked about naturalism. He gave his position after he only had a short interaction with Darth, and I'm pretty sure that was the one where he, like I said, he explained his position.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Infinite regress is not possible, Otangelo?
Oh, hey, Otangelo's here. How you doing, buddy? By the way, are we watching this video or what are we doing?
We're gonna watch this as just a couple little parts, but I'm gonna play this.
Being smart ass as usual, and trying to trigger them, and then I think they kicked you out not long after that.
That's usually how it ends, but lately I've been leaving them alone.
We're talking about us.
Like I have been going, and that's just to say that I've been going in, and I haven't really been challenging anyone, or I just kind of let things happen now. I'm retiring from bugging Speed. Speed missed like 2 or 3 streams, and for a second I thought he died. And I'm like, or at least I entertained the idea, and then I kind of like, oh man, I've been giving this poor old man like such a hard time. So
I mean, he's pretty old.
So are you suggesting, Danny, that you were potentially feeling responsible for the death of Speed?
either that or his deathbed wasn't pleasant because I was just filled with me. His thoughts were filled with me right before he died. I just don't want. I want him to sleep.
What the fuck?
What
the fuck?
Yeah. So Danny thinks that my last thoughts are going to be about him. It's just amazing. I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was amusing.
That's cute. I like that.
Yeah, that was cute. He retired from bugging Speed because he's afraid he's going to kill me. It's like, okay. So Danny triggers us and retires. Oh, I like this one. This is kind of the end of Randolph.
I'm asking about that. I'm talking about supporting it from the evidentiary perspective.
I need to clarify this because you're mischaracterizing.
No, give no flying Fs, bro. Have you researched?
What does give no flying ass mean?
I mean, gives no
Did you
flying
say Fs
fucks.
or ass?
Fs.
Yeah, I think it said.
Oh, flying ass. So okay. Yeah.
Flying fucks. Yeah.
Well, I've heard of taking a flying fuck at a rolling donut.
What?
But, okay.
You're the found.
Oh, you've never taken a flying fuck at a rolling donut? You probably haven't done PCP. Anyway,
No.
I don't know how to respond to that sentence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of the reason you are calling people.
So if you want to know the answer to my question, I'm going to clarify what I'm trying to do here. Very simple. The vendors mostly
don't give a rat's ass. Answer the question.
He was trying to. What the fuck?
I know, and I think Randolph disappears at that point. But what the hell were they talking about? Was it? Were they talking about masks in Corona?
I don't remember how many.
Okay, so you have read more than 5 papers on the validity or the invalidity of the masks in relation to day-to-day activities.
Okay, so anyway. This has been going on for months on this, well, ever since we started masking up, that masks can't trap viruses because they're molecules or something like that. And Jefferson Spatchcock had a big thing, or Jay did. Jay and Jefferson had a big thing on Praise's channel where they were SFB mod Joel was going on about how masks can't possibly stop virus particles. And the thing is that the virus particles are loaded up in droplets, and the mask does stop those, but not entirely. I mean, nothing is going to be fucking perfect. That's why when somebody starts coughing, you run, right?
Run for the hills.
Run for the hills. So they're going. So I think that's what they were going on about. And so, I mean, what the fuck? What is their problem with wearing a mask? I mean, I think they actually said that Joel said wearing a mask increases the velocity of the particles.
What?
Yeah, he did say that about 3-4 months ago with Jay and Jefferson. They could probably point us to the spot. But he actually, his theory was that wearing a mask makes you more lethal than not wearing a mask. That's why they wear masks in operating rooms, right? Because they want to kill their patients. I don't know. I don't get it. What is the big deal with a mask with these guys? You think we're trying to tear their lungs out or something because we ask them to wear a mask. It's just like, Jesus Christ, guys, put a fucking mask on. I think we should wear masks forever because flu and colds, right?
I mean, Speed. No, after the pandemic is done, yeah, no.
I don't know.
Wearing masks in other cultures is more acceptable, right? If I have a cough, I'm going to put a mask on when I go to work because I have masks in my house. There's no reason why I shouldn't wear a mask if I have a cold.
Because it fucking helps. Like the one thing I've noticed.
If you have a cold, stay inside. How hard is that?
Well, that's not always an option, right? I mean, if I have a slight cold and my job doesn't allow me to take a break off for that reason, I could either go to work and spread the cold, don't go to work and don't get paid, or go to work and not spread the cold. Yeah. That third option seems best to me.
Yeah, but they believe that masks somehow increase your chances of getting whatever the illness is. But the interesting thing about the last year, the pandemic year, is that I have not got a cold, and I usually get 2 a year. And they usually, set me back. They set me down for in my chair for about 3 days. They're nasty colds. I have not gotten those. And when it comes time to get a flu shot, I'm like, nah, I don't think so, because my chances of getting flu are like right around 0, right? If I'm isolating and, all that stuff. So I don't know. I kind of like the mask idea. I'm getting used to it.
Well, you could start the raccoon flu epidemic quite easily.
I could. And here's the thing. I have COPD. If I run up and down stairs a couple times, I'm out of breath, really badly. And it takes me a minute or so to recover. So, but I can wear a mask. Sometimes it's uncomfortable if I exercise with a mask on, right? Because especially the N95s or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Those are, those restrict airways. But I mean, people are complaining, they have a little bit of COPD and they can't wear a mask. Well, I don't find too much of a problem. I went to the bank today and walked in with a mask, and everybody had a mask on, and it wasn't that bad. Besides, I don't want to fucking look at people anyway. They're probably just creationists. Okay, so I don't know if we, I suppose we could go over some. Okay, we got Duncan's exits. Okay, so Duncan's left at 327. And right before that, we have Randolph Richardson at 207. So it was like an hour and a half that Randolph was in. And Duncan's went after him. So I don't know. We could look at it. What do you think?
Up to you. It's your channel.
So I guess, has Maddox always been a booter like that? Because I don't think he's ever randomly booted me before for disagreeing.
He's booted a few people, but mostly he mutes you.
Yeah, okay.
He is a pretty good moderator. He does. Oh, the other interesting thing, and I'm not sure where it was, but what was his name? Godzilla Freak. He went after Darth Dawkins on his dichotomy, saying you either believe in God or you don't.
Yeah.
And so he actually had little. So I thought that was interesting because Godzilla Freak is like one of the team, isn't he? One of the Creo team.
Yeah, he's a theist, but I think.
Oh, he's not a young Earth.
He may not be a young Earth. I know he's definitely, a theist of some sort. I don't know exactly though.
So that means he still knows how to use his brain.
Yeah,
he
may be. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure, but yes, I did see.
It is inspiring to see creationists not just take the knee and start gobbling up Darth Dawkins's.
Yeah,
it's nice to see that.
Yeah, I don't think it went too well for him. And did I not bookmark that? Damn it!
I'm so upset at you.
I'm so upset that I didn't bookmark that.
This was a long stream, right? It was like
hell yes,
5 hours.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I got some bookmarks for Andrew because so right here he does a nice comeback at 105, and it's Danny. Be careful now, Danny. You're gonna kill me. I'm old and feeble.
Really? Are you okay?
You little fucking noodle. That's what I was wondering about you. All that Adderall you're sniffing. You don't have any body fat. I mean, you might just.
What makes you think I do Adderall? I've only done it like 4 times.
I mean, like God. I'm afraid. I mean, I sit around and think, God. I wonder if I killed Danny. I wonder if he dropped dead.
I wonder if I have like 4 drinks. Do you think I'm like an alcoholic?
Yeah.
If you have 4 drinks, I think it would kill you.
But not even in a row.
Damn skinny.
But not even in a row. Just like 1 in May, 1 in September. Then suddenly I'm an alcoholic. Then, right?
Danny, do you have a response to Speed's mud wrestling challenge?
Yeah.
I don't
want to meet. Yeah, mud wrestling, man. I mean, if you think I'm so old and feeble, I want to meet you in the middle, and we're gonna have a mud wrestling match.
What is this coming from?
from your little comment on John last night, where you were afraid you killed me because I'm so old. It's like,
oh no, you disappeared off like one day. I think I didn't know about your vaccine thing, and because you have a routine, I just thought you died or something.
You're saying that I am so reliable that you thought something was wrong. That was nice of you to be concerned about me. Yeah.
No, yeah, I was concerned.
I appreciate it.
I think it was like 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
Is that a no to mud wrestling then?
I don't know. People would pay for this shit, Danny.
I know they
we could make some money.
Logan Paul made like $5 million. I mean, just saying.
Yeah.
On mud wrestling?
We could build this up. We could build it up for about 6 months, and we could meet in Nashville, and John Maddox could be the referee, fair moderator. Anyway, that was quite a stream last night.
Yeah, I talked to John about Darth as well, and then I talked about you again. I think I said something
did?
about how I said that you were insane for thinking that abiogenesis was like probable or something.
Oh, you said that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. I saw that. I think
I missed that part.
I saw that part.
So
yeah.
wait, you said you yourself said that your speed was insane for believing in biogenesis.
No, I didn't say that. I said,
okay, well, I didn't hear you, so my bad.
That's very typical. But
hey, don't start. I didn't hear. Okay.
No, I'm just saying learn from this because you typically don't hear me. But anyways, I was saying that it's kind of crazy to think that abiogenesis is like probable on some level.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, I just take it on authority that that it's very improbable.
Wait a minute. What authority?
Like scientific consensus.
You got papers to back that up?
No, I don't.
Which is ironic because you would need to
So you don't know enough you don't know enough about the subject to actually tell them why you think it's improbable.
Right.
You heard a couple of scientists say, "Oh my God, this is just so difficult."
Well, my professor, who's and other scientists, and it's like, do I have papers for you that like electrons have a negative charge? I don't. I just take it on authority.
I mean, those exist. So
have you ever listened to Lee Cronin talk about it? He's a professional. He's an authority. He's a real authority on it.
Danny.
Which is why I highlighted consensus. But
if abiogenesis, what's the other option then? God, I assume.
The other option?
Yeah.
No, you believe something improbable.
You have an infinite regress of life, I guess.
All right. I'm just wondering because what is the consensus of the scientific community in your mind? If the scientific community believes that,
but you can look. I accept abiogenesis, but I don't. You can accept an improbable. Look, the fact that Mount Everest formed the way it did is very improbable.
No, it's not.
Yeah, Danny's position is that it happened, but it's just not probable.
Wait, so
I probably misunderstood you then, Danny. My bad.
What is the probability that Mount Everest has that exact height?
Right.
It's very low.
One, because it has that exact height.
Well, then you and I don't know what you mean by probability.
If we're resetting things and restacking the mountain, what is the probability?
Yeah,
with a different set of universe. Yeah. So Danny's always had.
So yeah.
But anyway, I think abiogenesis. I don't know, but I have a suspicion that it's highly probable.
What? Maybe it's just insane. Like, maybe someone that knows science can like talk to you about it because I'm not the one.
Yeah. I have talked to a scientist. I kind of do talk to scientists every week about this, but actually, anyway, it's an opinion that some people share. It depends on how you have to think very carefully about what was going on in the earth and how long it was going on to decide that it's probable.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you about it, but it's just
and if it is, the thing is, if it is probable, that means we are really not alone. That means there are civilizations like within 20 light years of us, which, well, maybe not civilizations, but life, within 5-10 light years of us, if it's highly probable. There's a book by, in fact, who gave it to me? Shit. Nestle and it's by Smith and Morrowitz, I think, and they believe that the geological age, which came right before, makes it highly probable that life will. And they wrote a huge book on abiogenesis, and they are authorities on this subject.
What's the book called?
Yeah, to me, it's just like if someone told me atoms don't exist, I'm not going to be able to like support the fact that I think atoms exist, but I just still think it's a crazy claim.
Yeah, everybody's got an opinion based on their set of knowledge from, and you have an intuitive grasp, and that will give you like one opinion or another. But neither of us know for sure which of us is right. But we have these intuitive feels based on what we know. But I know a lot of things about it that lead me to believe that it's probable.
Hey, Speed, what is the name of that book called? The one on abiogenesis?
I'm working on it.
All right, thanks. I thought you didn't hear me.
I could step away and go look through my goddamn library back, my temporary library
Does
behind me.
anybody else agree with Speed that it's probable?
The origin of
anybody here.
Wait, hold on. I mean, it's probable. That's why we're here. Or
no,
sorry, no. I phrased it poorly. It's probable, okay? Because we're here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're making the same mistake as Orge.
Danny, are you going to define probable as the least improbable, or probable as in like past 50%? Like if I got 3 options and abiogenesis is the most likely in my mind of them, does that make it by definition most probable?
Well, and I just think of it. I'm just going to convey my concept of probability. I'm just going to use the example of Mount Everest being that specific height.
God, bringing geology to this, don't you?
I would agree with Speed. I mean,
you think it's probable
the way that what I would describe it as is that I would describe it as rare. I think that life is rare and it's very difficult. I mean, but I think it's definitely possible because we are here.
Oh, yeah, of course it's possible.
Right. But I mean, my view is that if you look at it as as a astrophysicist or whatever, they will describe things as, our universe is so massive that very rare things happen all the time.
Yeah, but you're still agreeing with Danny.
So that's the way. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I mean, in my view, I think there is life out there, and I think that, and also when you're talking about intelligence, I think that's even more rare. So in my view, there's probably lots of planets out there with animal life, and there's probably very few with intelligent life, in my view. And I don't think we'll ever know that. I don't think we'll ever discover any intelligent life because it's probably spread out, because it's so rare and it's so spread out amongst the universe and amongst time that it's just never.
You don't want to do the reverse gambler's fallacy either, right? Just because, if we found life on every planet, okay, it wouldn't mean therefore it's life is probable,
Yeah, I think we're just kind of talking past each other on probability, but I'm claiming
I think we are too.
I'm claiming something different than I think any of you are claiming here, and I'll refer you to the book by Smith and Morrowitz. It's linked it's called Origin and the Nature of Life. What the hell is it? The Emergence of Life or something? Hang on a second. Let me get the right title.
The
nature, 800-page book. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, quit talking. The Origin and Nature of Life on Earth, the Emergence of the Fourth Geosphere. And they basically consider the cooling of our kind of planet in this particular zone, and it's a pretty wide zone, what the Earth occupies, as basically the first geosphere is the beginning 4.2 billion years ago. And then as you go along, you end up with life every time. That is their position, and they have a very detailed, technical, and well-argued position on it. So
yeah, I respect it. If you have a line of reasoning, I'm not going to contest anything because I'm just taking it on what I take to be the consensus view.
Yeah, what you've heard around the street, and that's and there's a lot of things we hear, like we hear that we don't know anything about the human brain. And there's a lot of things you hear that are kind of bullshit.
Well, I've heard. I don't know. I didn't. I bet most people have heard it, not just on the street. Walker fish.
God damn it! We keep. Okay, which one? Okay, Scott, is it you or me? Let him in.
I want to know walking fish's opinion. Do you think abiogenesis is probable or improbable?
I mean, I sort of agree with what Brainbug was saying. I personally think that it was probably something that was quite improbable. Like, even if you want to say based on the early Earth conditions, it was a likely outcome. What are the odds that we even landed on a planet that had early Earth conditions, right? There's like 10 other planets in our solar system. This is the only one with life. And we don't even know any other planets with life within our galaxy. You know?
Do you know anything about do you know anything about the consensus of origin of life researchers in terms of whether they think it's probable or improbable?
I mean, I think it's such a relative metric that it's hard to say. Like, at what point are you saying it's probable versus improbable?
Well,
are you starting from early Earth conditions, or are you just saying, like, out of any place in the universe, if you had to pick one spot, what are the odds it has life? Because I think those are two totally different questions.
I'm just asking, maybe you're suggesting that they're not going to be able to answer the question without asking what do you mean. But if you asked if you have a sample of origin of life researchers, and you ask them, hey, it's a likely event that life can come from non-life. What are they most likely going to say? And I was inclined to think that most of them are going to say, look, it's a very unlikely event.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I agree with you, Dan.
They would probably say it's pretty unlikely, but what are your parameters? Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm fine.
Yeah. I'll go with you guys. Unlikely and improbable to me sound like two different words.
Yeah.
Maybe probability is not a probable is not. It is. There are different kinds of probabilities you were suggesting. But maybe if likely is more illuminating than sure.
I think I agree with you, Danny, that the probably 80% or maybe 70% of abio researchers would say it's improbable. But there are 30% that say it is probable.
And you're on that side of the fence, right?
I'm with those guys, for reasons.
Okay, yeah.
There's never a statistician around when you need one.
Yeah.
If we could have a statistician in the listenership there get on and tell us the different kinds of probability, that would zip up this question.
Well, in philosophy, there's usually a delineation between subjective and objective probability, but then there's different kinds of objective probabilities, and that's when your statistician comes in. Subjective probability.
Yeah, we start falling off the cliff there, right?
Yeah, they're different ways. Yeah, there's it's not subjectively probable, for instance, that when you roll a die, you can calculate a probability there. That's not subjectively probable. But if you were to ask what's the probability that, I don't know, that someone from Baton Rouge has eaten crawfish, it's going to be a lot of people are going to draw on their experiences rather than some kind of sophisticated sample size research thing,
I want to point out that the other thing that's probable is what probably or could have happened on Mars, and that is that life gets started and it goes along for a few 100 million years, and then it just the match is never lit. It never goes the eukaryotic route. And it's also probably more probable that we're going to find entire protozoan worlds rather than or not protozoa, but prokaryote worlds rather than eukaryote worlds. So the eukaryote thing may have been less probable, but now that I'm researching this, I'm starting to think that is more and more probable as I go along. And it has to do with and the interesting thing is, last night on John's stream, they were talking about what the hell was it? How you have to find nature of the gaps or naturalism of the gaps. They were talking about you have to find a new law, and that is the thing that we really have to understand, that when you're talking about abiogenesis, you are not talking about new laws at all. You're talking about organic chemistry and metallochemistry, and that is why it's probable, because of the nature of the laws that we already know about, right? And the more you look into them, the more it seems like there were many, many, many different paths to these same things. And if there were many paths, then going down one of them is more probable.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
anyway.
I'm honestly, like I said, I'm generally inclined to agree that abiogenesis was a fairly probable event starting from early Earth. You know, just because, I mean, Earth was it was formed about 4.5 billion years ago, and we have life about 3.8 billion years ago. So from the start of Earth to actually the development of life, it didn't take very long, which to me suggests that it was probably a fairly likely outcome. But I'm just saying, like, what are the odds that the stars align to have this Earth that has all of the perfect conditions? I would say that's probably pretty low.
I saw. I just say something really? All right, go ahead.
Hey, before I lose my train of thought, Midnight. The improbable thing is surviving snowball Earth and some of these major volcanic. The plates are floating around on hot lava. Surviving for 4.5 billion years may be pretty improbable. Or really,
the plates aren't actually on lava. The asthenosphere is still solid speed.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, it's considered a solid, but it's like a plastic.
Yeah.
It's a plastic. But I mean, it's hotter.
It's not floating. Yeah.
We are kind of moving around on top of that shit, right?
Is it true that there's water in the asthenosphere, or is it right above it?
Where's this fucking water they talk about? Let's talk about that.
That's the ringwoodite. Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know.
You see, there's water inside the hollow Earth.
Are they talking about water complex with with rock?
He's probably asking about ringwoodite, which is a mineral that has a high percentage of water molecularly.
Right. Yeah, they all do, right? I mean, there's a lot.
I read in some 2000 late 2000 study that they discovered all these lakes under the crust or something.
They've also, if I remember correctly, they've also found apparently I didn't read the articles yet, but it's been interesting. Apparently, they also found a new layer, or like I guess either the core has a new. I don't know. I need to, because I found it interesting. I know
what you're talking about, Midnight. Yeah, it's a new layer of density layering within, I think, the lower than the asthenosphere. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but there's a new density layer related to seismatics, but it's not like a physical layer.
So if it's not a physical layer, then
it's not like it's like a unique shell. It's just a layer where density changes slightly within an existing layer.
Yeah, and they've in the last 10 years, haven't they considerably revamped what they thought was going on down there?
Everything inside.
Okay, what color is the core?
Color?
Yeah.
I don't color.
We think it's iron and nickel. It's molten hot, so probably white.
No, it's not. I thought the core was solid.
It's solid.
Because
it's molten
pressure,
hot.
Right?
The outer core is liquid. The inner core is solid, but still molten hot.
Okay, so is it yellow, white? What is it? Red?
I don't know.
Given its probably be white due to the photoelectric effect. So, you can heat up a metal rod and it can still glow.
But wait, okay, you know what? This is probably going on a tangent. But why? But okay, if the inner core is surrounded by an outer core of molten lava or whatever it's called, why hasn't it melted? Is it because it's so dense that it can't? What? I've always wondered that.
Basically, yeah.
There's so much pressure at the inner core. There's so much pressure at the inner core, it keeps it solid. But the inner core, as far as I'm aware, the inner core and the outer core are compositionally pretty similar.
Yes, it's a gravity differentiation at that point. You have so much weight that the inner core solidifies, but the weight is reduced at that threshold, at that difference. You can calculate the physics of this stuff, right? That once you lack that amount of gravity, then you can have more of a liquid surrounding, which is what the material wants to be.
Yeah, I don't know. This will probably never happen, but I feel like many people don't appreciate just how solid the Earth remains every day.
There's an excellent XKCD comic about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fuck.
The core of Jupiter or Saturn or the gas. I don't know shit about this, but the core of the gas giants is like metallic hydrogen, right? or something like that, or helium and hydrogen, and it's like solid because of the pressure, the immense pressure, but it's not the kind of solid you're used to.
I don't think hydrogen ever could be solid. At that point, it'd just be a plasma.
Yeah, I don't know
with
what
that high of pressure.
Well, I thought it was like it has a density, like extreme density, and you couldn't just dive through it. I don't think.
Hey, Speed, I just posted a comic in the public chat. You want to show that one real quick?
Yeah, you definitely should, because
xkcd.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
It's very
Dan
good.
sends me those comics all the time from this website.
They're fucking funny.
I have a Wikipedia quote about the core of Jupiter if anyone wants to hear it.
Sure.
A surrounding layer of liquid metallic hydrogen with some helium and an outer layer predominantly of molecular hydrogen. The core has also been described as rocky, but this remains unknown as well.
Metallic hydrogen.
Cool.
But what's the geological... Okay, never mind. So I've heard that some scientists, when they use metal, use it in a different sense than we think of, but I don't know where that applies.
So, what if I had to guess? So metals are usually considered metals. The reason that they're so bendable is because it's a bunch of positive atoms, like the nucleus of the atoms, and they're sort of bumping around, and the electrons are free to flow between them. And I think what it's like saying by that is when you have the hydrogen that dense, the nuclei separate from the electrons. So you just have a bunch of nuclei floating around inside of a sea of electrons, quote unquote. And that's probably what's implying by metallic hydrogen.
Okay, thank you. But this is funny. Outer core, inner core, turbulence, molten metals at 30 million parts per. Is that parts? No, it's not parts per million. It's PSI. What is that?
Pounds per square inch.
Pounds per square inch.
Okay, pounds per square inch, moon-sized iron sphere. I freak out about 15 minutes into reading anything about the Earth's core when I suddenly realize it's right under me. Yeah. Right?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love science. Well, philosophy.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know. I love everything.
Who was that? Was that David Walker that was describing metal? Yeah, there's, every branch of science has its own definition of metal. Geologists refer to like the malleability and luster as definitions of metal, right? Whereas a chemist does something different. So
yeah. The chemist would be like the sea of mobile electrons.
Exactly.
With positive charges floating around.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're still manipulating material. You're just doing it differently based on the definition.
So can you sign up for daily updates on this thing?
XKCD, I'm sure you can.
Yeah, where the hell is it? Oh, email. Okay, there we go. I got it. My son sends me a ton of these, and let's see. Cool. I'm doing it.
Fuck it, we're doing it live.
They have some great ones on programming every now and then that are pretty cool. That I really appreciate. So, anyway, so how do we get on that? We were talking about the cold slabs and stuff too. That's the other thing that
I'm working on it.
Yeah, the last two lessons in Nick Zentner's Geology 351 class have been pretty amazing about I guess they're called cold slabs, but they're basically ancient slabs of tectonic plates that are broken off under the surface and it's going deep down have gone I guess more or less horizontal under the crust, under the top stuff, and are kind of stuck there, and they're under such pressure that they take this folded what was that red candy that he was showing off to kind of show what it was? Some sort of ribbon candy.
Taffy or something.
Taffy or ribbon.
Talk about airheads, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cold slabs are the favorite of Creotardus geologicus. It's a species of creationist. So
I got to get off the stream here real quick. But Scott, I think part of the reason why cold slabs is such a thing is because creationists don't realize that the Earth's interior is itself dynamic and changing and not uniform. They just kind of look at the picture and it says, mantle, and it's just one color. Therefore, everything in the mantle is the same, not regarding the different parts of the world have different geology, even 50, 60 miles down.
I mean, do they not realize that, that it's just a simplified diagram? It's not
exactly. So, anyways, I gotta head off. I hope you guys mud wrestle. Take care.
Okay. See you, dude. Scott, do you know there is one of the Discord servers I'm in? They're doing an AMA with Stephen Mumford.
Who?
Stephen Monk?
Mumford.
Oh, okay, cool. Is it the what's that one? Friction?
That one or Canadian Catholic server Philosophical Checkmate.
Okay, cool. I'll look for that.
What is Stephen Mumford? And who's the Mumford? Who's the Mumford that is a historian?
Is this in any way related to Mumford and or his sons?
I was waiting for it. You would be the one, Walker.
Before we get off the cold slabs, I kind of feel like a cold slab, and I really feel like a cold slab all the time now. I just realized, Danny, I think yesterday, that I didn't even think about it, but I realized that I'm old enough to be Danny's father, so now I really feel like a cold slab.
Yeah.
So, if you want to feel old, I'm pretty sure I'm the youngest in the stream by a decent margin.
I'm old enough to be all used grandpa.
Hold on. How old are you? I didn't hear you.
I'm 20.
Oh, well, I'm 36. Scott is probably 50, if I remember correctly. Then he's 28.
Holy shit, I'm almost old enough to be your father, Midnight. Pretty close. My oldest son is 34.
I think
my great niece is older than you, Walker.
I think I am old enough to be your father, though, David.
No, what? Dave, I'm pretty sure David is like in his 40s or 50s.
Yeah,
I would have
definitely
to
not
be
in his 40s.
I would have to be that if my oldest son is 34.
Yeah. Well, it's like Danny just said. I'm pretty sure that could be like. Do you mean?
I didn't have him when I was 10.
No, it's just in a world in which I married and my wife gave birth to David. That's a world in which I'd be old enough to be David.
But you're 28. He's like 56. What the fuck?
I'm just. Are you disagreeing with me?
Yes, because you're objectively 28.
Wait, okay, I'll go through proposition by proposition. You stop me when you disagree. Okay. In a possible world, right, in which I marry someone. Okay. Are we any disagreement there so far? No. Okay. My wife gives birth to David. Is there a contradiction there?
In a possible world.
Yeah, so
well, I mean,
in that world,
I feel like genetically,
I'm old enough.
I don't think that would work genetically because I mean,
why not?
I love how you twist things to make it work to what you want, but whatever. Go ahead.
Well, so you don't disagree then? Okay, thanks.
So
I'm saying like there's no way you would exist how you do without the same genetic composition, and the same thing goes for David.
Right.
And since you don't share 50% of your genome with David, then there's no way.
Yeah, but there's a possible world where all that shit can happen. But there's a possible world where we can just make any shit up we want, right?
Yeah.
So Brainbug said that SFT is going to get him some citations. Isn't that funny?
Yeah,
that's the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard. It's like,
do you mean like an old Chevy citation? Because you're probably going to get a Chevy citation long before you get a citation from SFT.
So all this is that I could be David's father.
Well, then by that logic, I could be your father. There you go.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, but it would require a universe that doesn't work how this one does.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah. But and it would be the same on his view, right? Like there would be some other world in which David's my father, right? Given the same age and given my age that of this world, but that universe would have to be different.
I think he was just saying that he's old enough to be your father. I don't think he's saying that he is your father.
I'm old enough to be his father.
Dad, if you were my kid, Danny, I think my first thoughts would be gunny sack rocks.
I mean, if Danny was my kid, I'd be bullying him relentlessly.
Oh, you couldn't bully me.
If Danny were
You
my
sure
kid-
about that?
Yeah, there's a contradiction.
Danny doesn't follow. I like that. I'm gonna get a fucking t-shirt.
Yeah, Danny doesn't follow.
be the new banner.
Oh yeah.
Well,
we
you know
did.
what, Danny. I will give you that. Right now, I couldn't bully you, but don't
There wouldn't be any
don't
time.
discount her.
There wouldn't
Well,
be,
don't
there
discount
wouldn't
the
be any time
future.
interval.
Well, you keep believing that.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Just fuck you.
What do you? I love when you say that. It just tickles me. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I know nothing.
You just continue to be you, Danny.
I'm just
Yep.
what?
You just continue to be you. Did I stutter?
Well, that just seems trivial.
Yep. I love it. We got a new banner.
It doesn't follow. I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's pretty good.
Anyway, so what else happened out there? So okay, so there was a praise stream. I totally.
I think that John agrees that Darth is a bully, but I think that's what I gathered from my conversation with him.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll listen to your. I didn't listen to the rest of your conversation.
And I did listen to parts of I did go back and watch, and you could tell that John was trying to like rein in Darth a few times.
Yeah, because Darth was over talking
Which
constantly.
honestly was better than what Praise did, I think.
John is not actually a bad moderator. In fact, he's pretty good at it. So.
Yeah, I'm sad about what happened to Orge and Praise. Maybe I have to talk to Praise about it. But I think
when was that? Was that last night?
Well, no, this was the other night. Orge talked about that video being popular on his YouTube channel. Remember? He posted on his YouTube. Anyway, Orge was flat out abused by Darth, like worse than like above average.
Oh, that
abuse. Yeah, it was above average abuse, right? It was like worse than Leo. It was pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
And I think that Praise could have at least said something, even something like, "Okay, let's calm down, everyone." But there wasn't even that.
Yeah. Well, I think Darth, he probably kicks puppies. It just seems like he enjoys fucking with people and abusing them.
I mean, I even get tired of abusing people.
I know.
Darth doesn't get tired of it.
No, he doesn't.
He never gets tired of it.
No,
Well,
he's fucked up as it is. He's had a lot of practice.
Smokey is back on Praise's channel now as a regular.
I don't know what's going. That's like a freaking reality TV show. I don't know what's going on there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're kissing and
they
making
hate
up.
each other one day, and the next day they're like talking.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
what's going on.
that's because Praise is a pushover, right? I mean, he flip flops so much, and
I wouldn't say
like you
that.
said-
He's just like indecisive.
right. That too.
Well, yeah,
but
but the thing is, he thinks, and he like, okay, well, that sounds good, and he kind of goes with it because he's kind of laid back. I don't think that's a bad thing.
I have a quick question. Why did you link to the stream itself rather than the video you were linking to?
What?
In the in the live chat, right?
Like, literally what happened was Praise put out a video admitting that he just
I didn't do that.
randomly kicked off.
Yeah, you did. I just clicked it and it went. Let me try again because it's gonna piss me off now.
No, you don't understand. I didn't do that. It must have been some doppelganger because I did not put that link in there. I don't know how that happened.
But Speed, did you
What's
see
happening?
that? Where Speed, did you see where like Praise put out a video
whatever,
saying,
Speed.
so day one, Smokey just randomly gets kicked out of Praise's channel. Praise goes like, "What's going on? Like, who's kicking him out?" Does this whole thing, right? And then the next day, Praise gives puts out a video saying, "It was me the whole time. Like, I'm the one that kicked out Smokey." And started saying Smokey needs to repent and all this stuff. And the next day they're talking together like they're friends. I
know.
just didn't know. I just missed too many episodes.
You know why? That was a lie on Praise's part. He's lying because he's got so many. Sorry, Praise has got so many people with administrative powers, right? He's got Algotha, he's got Gavin, he's got the damn young kid there, Chad, right? He's got Chad, he's got himself. So, and they're all doing stuff between Gavin, Chad, and I think Chad was doing stuff that night or in several nights. And Praise didn't want to admit that. He doesn't want to admit that he's, the whatever Baptist or Will, whatever his name is, the Baptist Chad there is doing stuff, and he doesn't want to really admit that. Or, I mean, he has, but he's still covering for him. So you had that
the night that happened, he didn't blame anyone. He was like, he just played clueless. Like, I don't know what happened. Like
he knows he's covering for all the bullshit that because so many he gives out his administrative powers like it's candy to all his buddies, and then look at the mess it created. I mean, that whole thing with Gavin that blew up. Now he claimed he took away administrative powers from Gavin. Then the next day, I think he gave him back. It's just, it's all. Yeah.
I don't really care about it. I mean, no, it's interesting. I like hearing about it. I'm saying that I don't really think he's doing anything wrong. Except when like Darth is a bully, I just feel like Christians should call Darth out.
I think where Darth is a terminal bully, Praise is terminally nice guy. So he's kind of bent. So he's not, not a bad person.
There's other like that Godzilla guy got angry, Tantalus to Darth.
Emery did too.
Emery did too. Yeah, he
did.
Yeah,
Emery did too.
But for some reason, I loved it when he did, but I wasn't surprised. I think Emery. One thing I admire about Emery, despite what all of the stuff that he said about atheists and stuff, and like maybe y'all don't like his political views either, but he kind of stands by himself. Like he's very uninfluenced by like politics. Of Discord, like being friends with this person, being friends with that person. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, they all. I don't know. There's a bunch of them that are pretty good. I think Otangelo is probably the premier case of somebody who is consistent and sticks with his own values rather than. Don't you think Otangelo is pretty good at it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I just think that some of the people on Crazy's channel, like Bob, I'm gonna go really fast, and then I'm gonna go. Like Bob, I was disappointed in Bob. I was disappointed in Praise. I don't know who else was in the room, but the poor Orge was just getting mauled, like insulted after insult, and they were just so silent.
Yeah, that's bad. So Scott, you put a link. You put the link to this video here in that thing.
That was a mistake, obviously. But just everybody go to Erica's channel after 4. And she has a premiere. She's not going to be in the chat.
So, Danny, you know why that is, right? All those guys not saying anything, or at least in my opinion, is the fact that, they consider Darth a god, or, he's, he wins arguments, or they at least consider him winning all his arguments. And these guys are all about apologetics. They love it. They love, the atheists getting beaten down, and so they're not going to step up to that because
maybe you're right, but I would have to ask them. I would want to ask Bob to his face, like, why didn't you call out Darth for his abusiveness? Because Bob is not shy, right, about when there is abuse, right? If someone is being abused, he usually calls them out.
That's true. You are right about that.
But for some reason, when it came to Darth, he didn't either. So he could have been AFK, right? He could have been. I don't know what explains it. I would love to ask him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was beaten on. Stephanie said somebody was beaten on the rage again.
Where was that?
Rage almost invites it, though.
No, you gotta leave him alone. I don't know. Anyway, so
Okay, I'm gonna head out. Y'all have a good one. Bye.
okay, thanks, Danny, for stopping in. Thanks for being the better Danny. I love it when the better Danny shows up.
Yeah.
The one that isn't snorting Adderall off his wrist or back of his hand. Yeah. I like that
Next time he
guy.
shows up, we need to get him to play a violin solo for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I popped in the stream earlier whenever I was out doing stuff, and I saw him playing violin. Was that his wife as well that was playing with him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Damn,
Yep.
they're looking good.
Walker,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but your avatar always freaks me out. I just
That was the point.
I know. It's just it's like
You are a fish, Midnight.
well, so are you.
I mean, yeah, I definitely made this to be like funny.
It's funny, but it's
like
also
weird and shit.
yeah.
At my age, I'm more like a sardine.
Yeah, I mean it's I don't know. I think it's almost
sardines
akin
are
to
awesome.
like Speed using foreskin to pause videos and shit. Like it's just I don't know. It's just to like make people laugh, and it's not for any particular reason.
Yeah.
Yep. So back to Danny, you saw him do the duet there, and you see how giddy and happy he was when he was getting, and like I
didn't see the whole thing. I just popped in for a second.
He had a good time. He him and Pine Creek had some good conversations for quite a while before that happened, before they did the duet. And like I said, that's why I said he did have a good time, and he was all giddy about that. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been giddy all day.
Danny's been good. Like
Yeah, well, I think Danny's generally like a pretty nice dude, and he's definitely really smart. But I also think he's a lot of times like a necessary contrarian, and he'll just like the whole thing with like you saying that you're old enough to be our father. Like he was just doing that to find something to argue about.
Yeah, you know what? Fair enough, and I will admit I fell for the trap. My bad.
The world.
Yeah.
So, by the way, Faithless Forum is going to be November 20th in Dallas, Texas, I believe, this year. They postponed it. Faithless Forum is where a bunch of YouTubers gather, and Paulogia, Shannon Q, I think, are pretty much behind it, but there's a whole bunch of other. They'll have a bunch of speakers talking about YouTube channels and stuff. If anybody's interested in that sort of thing, I will be there, and it will be.
Is it like a real life event?
Yeah, it's a real life event.
Crazy.
Well, and it's contingent on what happens with the pandemic. They were going to have it in June. Well, okay, I bought tickets for June of last year, and they canceled it. And then they were going to do it in June of this year, but they postponed it because assholes aren't getting vaccinated, so our numbers haven't gone down yet, so they couldn't. They want to guarantee that we're going to be safe to go there. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
That'll be interesting.
Anyway, but yeah, it is. It is a really. It'll be really fun to go there if you want to meet all of the really high-powered YouTube celebrities.
Yeah.
That would be.
I would love to go to something like that sometime eventually. I just think, I mean, first of all, I'm not financially independent right now, and I'm also at school, so it'd be kind of hard to get away. And second of all, I don't really care too much about like I don't consider like I'm atheist. I just don't consider it like a large part of my identity. Yeah. I would much rather talk about like science and stuff than theology. It's just not an interesting conversation to me.
Well, there'll be a little of those people there too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they had a pretty good turnout. I think the first year they had it, and then the second year I think it got canceled. So I don't know, but it's cool. And then the other cool thing is the Bat Cruise in Austin, Texas, at the Atheist Experience is always a really good time if you're so inclined. But anyway, I can't do both though. I'm not doing both.
Did you go to one of those already, Speed, or no?
I went to two Bat cruises. I went to the one where all of a sudden we were standing on the top deck, and all of a sudden we heard "Ahoy, matey!" and it was Arn Ra, really, really way too intoxicated to be in a kayaking up to the boat, and because he missed out on getting tickets, so he insisted he was going to rent a kayak and raid the boat, and he did. And he came into the back, and they had to push him. They wouldn't let him on, of course. The staff pushed it, but it was funny as shit. I mean, all of a sudden you hear, "Ahoy, matey," and you look out, there's R and Raw in a kayak right alongside this big cruise ship, right?
It's so sad. No.
It was
for
really
all that
good
effort, they should have let him on.
Yeah.
Hey, Walker, just so you know, they do have a student rate for the Faithless Forum of $50.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Well, the worst, I mean, getting a ticket wouldn't be the primary
Getting
expense.
there,
It'd be
getting-
getting there, finding a place to stay, all that kind of stuff.
You just need to go go on campus, shout like near the dorm or something, road trip, and you'll just have a lot of guys falling out with 6 packs of beer and such.
Yeah, I'm sure they come out expecting to go to the beach, but instead I take them to like Dallas, Texas, or wherever the hell you said it was.
Well, you know, that's just preload them with lots of beer and they won't care.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
I even have a, I don't think it's first class, I think it's comfort seat ticket that's supposed to be good for 2 years, and I think to Dallas, I'm going to redeem that. So I'm all paid up. The only thing I got to do is get a hotel. On my brother lives about 10 miles from there, so I could stay with him too.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Or no, actually, no, not that one. I'm thinking of another conference. Where the fuck was that?
And you said, when is that scheduled? You said they were planning June, but they changed it to when?
November 20th, 21st, I think, and 22nd, or 20th and 21st. I can't remember which. I had a note from them somewhere, but anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Get to meet a lot. Meeting these people in person is pretty cool. You know, like meeting all you guys in person would be awesome. You know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Because you feel like you know people. You know, but it's a whole different thing when you actually meet a person.
It's a whole different kind of knowing.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Something I'd absolutely love to do would be to get a group to go together to go to the like Answers in Genesis Creation Museum and stuff. I feel like that would be fun.
They've done that. Right?
Yeah, I know. No, that would be something I'd be willing to participate in for sure if it's a thing that comes around again.
Yeah. What the fuck am I thinking of? That was in Austin. There was some big conference in Austin.
Isn't there like Austin Atheists?
Well, the Atheist Experience is in Austin, but let me see. No, this is in Austin. Yeah, this is in Austin, Texas. I'm sorry. I thought it was Dallas, Scott. It's Austin.
No, this year it's in Dallas.
Oh, it is.
Was in Austin.
No, I'm looking at it right now, and it says Austin, Texas. The Hilton is like 10 miles from where my brother lives. Let me see. I'll show you. I thought, maybe the first one was in Dallas. I think. I can't remember. What the hell? Boy, that was slow. Too many tabs open again, boys and girls.
Too many tabs.
I'm gonna crash. Austin, Texas, November 19th to 21st. Okay, at the Austin Hilton.
Okay, yeah. I guess I was just looking at the wrong page.
Yeah.
Or something.
So can you still make that?
Yeah, I just need to know which one it is.
Yep.
There it is, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. That would be awesome. We'd be there. I'm going to have to get some T-shirts made for Answers in Atheism. I got Speed of Sound T-shirts, but I don't think I can fit into them anymore after pandemic.
So that I personally do not have any Walking Fish T-shirts.
Oh,
Although
you
I
need
would love to get like I have an Axolotl T-shirt, which is pretty close.
I'll get you a fish if you can bring a couple legs and we can put something together.
Yeah.
Walker, can I start selling merch like John does? Pitching is like, you see how much stuff he is pitching? I want to do that. So
John
I want
Maddox, does he sell shit?
Oh my God. Look at the bottom of the screen. You can donate to him on Patreon and Venmo. You can do PayPal. You can buy his merch, which is like way the fuck overpriced.
Yeah, of course.
But anyway, I want to sell Walking Fish T-shirts.
I mean, hey, if people are buying them, then I mean,
I don't know.
Can't fault him for being a business person, I guess.
No, you can't. No, I intend to make some goddamn money on this thing someday. I hope. If I ever get more.
Actually, something I've noticed, you've almost caught up to me in subscribers.
I got
I think I'm
360.
only like 5 ahead of you or something.
I got 361 now. So, but it's very slow, and I think the subscribers we're putting on are a different kind of subscriber than the pile that climbs on after modern day debate or whatever, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But
I just upload so infrequently. I'll get like, a couple, like a decent chunk of subs, like 50 subs or something after all of my videos. But I only have like 5 videos out. So
yeah. Yep.
But yeah, we'll see. Oh, Speed, did you see the conversation we had on Sal's channel the other night?
Oh yes, I did. I watched the whole thing. I was there.
Yeah,
Listening.
I thought that was an interesting one.
Yeah,
I think Sal is at least, I think he is so close to something like theistic evolution. If he could have a conversation with like inspiring philosophy or that other dude, just someone who could convince him like of a philosophical interpretation that supports universal common ancestry, he would be on that shit so fast.
Yeah, I thought you guys should have pushed on him a little harder, but he was fairly. I mean, he keeps rolling over when you guys are on.
Hmm.
I mean, he rolled over on a lot of stuff, but that last thing he showed, that little red strip, that nuclear localization signal.
Yeah,
I want to debate him on that because, and if he could see how wrong he is about that, about the probability of that happening, maybe those things will eventually push him. But I think he's emotionally committed in other ways, having nothing to do with science, that I don't think you're ever going to move that man.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, I think he's just so philosophically ingrained on a young Earth interpretation that it's like beyond any like evidence and reasons, I guess, if you want to make a pun of his channel. But I think honestly, because he'll tell you things like, man, it really does look like chimps are the most similar animals to us, right? And he'll be like, man, it really does look like common ancestry of metazoans. And stuff like
when you listen to him talk to Emery when you guys aren't around, he wrote, like, he also pushed back on John Maddox's information thing and said that's bullshit, and because he's an actual physicist, and so he pushes back on things, but then he always, like, he just moves the marker forward, right? But he's got his probabilities for proteins that he really believes in. And hopefully when he becomes educated enough about proteins, he'll figure out why he's wrong. But then I think he'll move on to something else.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think you could. I don't think he needs any more scientific evidence. I don't think he needs any more scientific discussion. If someone wanted to like actually convince him of like universal common ancestry or evolution or something, it would have to be down a philosophical route.
Yeah,
it would have to be like, okay, so here's a supported interpretation of Genesis that would imply at least an interpretation of common ancestry.
Yeah, it basically a difference of theological interpretation of the Bible, which is interesting. But there are some old Earth creationists that just don't go there. It's hard to explain. Like, they have faith in Christianity and they have faith in the resurrection, but they don't sit around and think about. They're almost agnostic about whether or not it really happened. They still believe in this Christian faith, right? And I've met Catholic priests that I swear they're my definition of an atheist, because they don't believe in anything supernatural at all, but they have this deep faith in something else. It's like faith is a different kind of thing than belief with them, and it's really interesting. And when you come to that kind of Christian, I think Sigard is that kind of Christian. I have
Sides. He doesn't think that abio happened. He thinks that God planted cells.
I think he's pretty open-minded about it.
I think if you asked him, he would be like, "Yeah, I'm undecided about it." But I think he definitely believes in some sort of like physical deity that has direct interactions with our world. And I think he definitely believes in a literal interpretation of like the story of Jesus and stuff like that. and like he probably believes that Jesus literally came back from the dead.
Yeah, don't say anything, but look at the private chat. So,
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, but what were your main points with Sal about the nuclear localization signals? Because that's not something I'm personally very familiar with. And I think we got onto something kind of interesting at the end, and I think the answer lies in that what we were talking about. And it's just like, Sal is dead set on the idea that like all of these signals have to have the exact same sequence and pop into existence at the exact same time, whereas mostly Dan, but if he wasn't there, I would have made the same point. I just don't think it's worth saying the same thing twice. Saying that like, okay, if there's any possible variation, right? If there's flexibility within what those signal recognitions are, then you can have selection. Like if something goes through your nuclear pores 1 out of 10 times, and it has a somewhat similar sequence, it'll eventually converge on that sequence just through selection.
Yeah.
So that would be what I would say, but I don't know anything about it. That's just what I think.
Okay, so the nuclear, first of all, there's more than one important, or I think they call them all karyophorins. There's more than one way to get things into the nucleus. Number two, that pore is big enough that anything with around 360 amino acids or less will just naturally get into the nucleus, right? Mm-hmm. It will seep in. So anything bigger than that requires this important mechanism, right? And the important is a protein, and there's more than one of those that has to bind with whatever you want to get into the nucleus, because it interacts with these FG repeats that line there. It's like cotton lining the core of that pore, right? So they interact with that. Now, in order for important to bind, in fact, the picture for the video today is that it shows an important binding basically a strand from a protein that's usually on the end of the protein, or it could be somewhere in the middle. All it has to be is a lysine, two together, KK, and then a couple of homophobic amino acids, one or two.
Homophobic amino acids.
Homophobic. What am I saying?
Hydrophobic, I'm guessing.
Hydrophobic. I always do homophobic. My mind always goes. Anyway, okay, so a couple of hydrophobic amino acids, or even one, and then maybe an arginine or another lysine. And then, and that's called a monopartite signal. And that's good enough to get it to bind and move in. But then there's bipartite signals where you'll have a lysine, space, or XX, and then another lysine or arginine, and then you'll have maybe 5 or 6 amino acids, and they'll have another lysine. Well, if you look back, if you look at that topoisomerase that cell shows, if you look back up in the sequence, you'll find other KK sequences, because there are more than one import signals in that particular protein. And in all proteins, if you just look across the genome, you will find KK pretty often. So the problem is that things get imported into the nucleus, and if there's a mutation that makes something that shouldn't be in there import into the nucleus, then you've got a genetic, or you've got a disease, and it causes cancer and a whole bunch of other shit. I think CRISPR defined the pores as big assholes, and going back in evolution, they were even bigger assholes. They would let anything in there, basically. So, and anyway, there's a whole bunch of work done with prokaryotes that have those pores on the surface of their cells. So they use them to for what is it? Phagocytosis? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, phagocytosis.
Things that eat other shit. Yeah. And those pores were basically on the surface of the cells. And then you look a little further into this. There's just a whole bunch of evidence of how that structure evolved and how those pores came to be. And then when you look at how they're imported, I mean, it is highly probable that things will get imported into the nucleus. What ENCODE showed us is that those things are transcribed and translated at a pretty high level, and a lot of things end up in the nucleus that never end up in a biochemical pathway. So we got a lot of garbage getting into the cytosol and the nucleus, and even the membrane of the cells, right? So evolution is always this churning thing where there is a potential pathway developing or a potential lethality. And of course, we know what happens if it's lethal, it gets selected against, right? So it drops out all the lethal things, but that one in 100 or 1 in 1,000 that is not lethal ends up basically as a neutral mutation. It hangs around in a population for a very long time. And if it comes to be that it fits into a pathway, just bang, 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 you have a new biochemical pathway. And the interesting thing when you start looking into this is every biochemical pathway has alternatives. There are a bunch of others, right? And it just keeps going on and on. And when you, the more you read about it, the more you believe in evolution. And that's what Cell needs to do, is look a little further. Yeah, but the problem with Cell is he sees that big red strip he had, right? And he says, oh, well, the first amino acid is, 1 in 20 times 1 in 20 times 1 in 20. And he works out a probability, and then he quits. He doesn't go look any further as to, wait a minute, does it have to be that exact sequence? It does not. It's not a conserved sequence at all. So anyway, that's a comeback on it. So
yeah, well, yeah, and I don't know. And it was also interesting talking to him because he sort of gave a little comment as to like why he's focusing on things like nuclear pore signaling. Because I mean, in the grand scheme of things, right? Interpreting or extrapolating back to 1 billion years ago is going to be a hell of a lot harder than extrapolating back to 10 million years ago, and so he was saying that like, I don't know, or he was saying that like, if you look at like mammals, right, it does look a lot like they share common ancestry. So what he was saying that he was doing was he was trying to, I guess, poke holes into the more archaic branches, the deeper branches, because if eukaryotes can't evolve, then that sort of disproves everything down the line, which I just strongly disagree with.
Yeah, I mean, that is a difficult task to go back there and detail all of what did happen.
Yeah. Well, and also like things are just so murky. Like, we have very few. There's what, like 1 or 2 eukaryote genera that don't have mitochondria, and that was likely through secondary loss, right? So between the first eukaryotes and the first organism that split off from the archaeans, there's a huge amount of evolution that we just don't have any surviving branches. Right. I was just saying we just know a lot less about what happened back then. And it's a lot harder to reconstruct those types of relationships.
Right. And he pulled up a paper, him and Otangelo, and then I think him and Emery went over it, by Charles Kurland. And Charles Kurland is a very interesting dude who did a whole lot of genomics with archaea and prokaryotes and eukaryotes. And he found a kind of a different story. And Charles Kurland is promoting the idea that what came first were larger cells with more intricate structures like eukaryotes. And they gave rise through devolution, he calls it, to prokaryotes.
Would you say you subscribe to that, or do you think that he's wrong?
His ideas and his theories are convincing enough that I am totally on the fence right now because of what he came up with.
At least, I haven't obviously read any of his papers, but those ideas seem not very accurate from an evolutionary standpoint. Just because, like, it doesn't make sense for prokaryotes to have lost mitochondria because our mitochondria nest inside of bacteria. Our mitochondria are literally just alpha proteobacteria, right? They're inside of a living clade of bacteria.
He's now making a case for a completely developed eukaryote giving rise to a prokaryote. He's talking about big, huge cells that are huge bags of a whole bunch of different structures, a large, huge population, right? Gigantic population of varied species, that there were far like billions of species of these things, right? And they gave rise through this basically pairing of the genome to prokaryotes, which are very tight. And he shows there's an interesting thing about proteins. Like all proteins will have like a couple of alpha helices connected by a loop. So it'll be helix turn helix or helix turn helix. Mm-hmm. Now that loop in prokaryotes is very small. And in eukaryotes, it's all over the place. It's large and small. And his point is that in prokaryotes, where you have smaller genomes, when they pare down the genome, I think it has to be less specific. So the loop that connects the two different motifs doesn't have to be as huge. And he has a whole bunch of research, and he has a YouTube video on it. But so, I mean, it was enough that, and we don't know what the fuck happened back then.
That's true.
Yeah, because it was so messy. But then I'm thinking also with, the earliest fossil evidence of bacteria was 3.2 billion years ago. And I guess those cells were much bigger. And then I'm looking back to Damer and Deemer's paper, in the hot spring hypothesis. And they were talking about basically that these bags or cells were, they didn't have a genome, so they couldn't reproduce that way. They reproduced based on what was inside of them. And they split, And so you had all of these different proteomes, running around, and eventually you started getting, various structures. So we can look at a lot of our protein families, and they go back to this orchard of many, many different proteins that started up. And you start looking at Damer and Deemer, and you can see that orchard model makes a hell of a lot of sense, because there were many different species. In fact, no two organisms were completely identical. I mean, it was that different. So it's just a rethinking of the whole abiogenesis plot. And I've been going through that process in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
So.
I just think that the idea that, the prokaryotes are, I don't want to necessarily call them simpler, right? But the reason that they have less, organelles, let's just use that as an example, right? I don't think that was lost through devolution, because that just phylogenetically doesn't make sense. Because if we're talking about the reason that their cells are organized a lot more simply than eukaryotic cells, it would have, those same adaptations would have had to have been lost in 12 different lineages. I'm making shit up. I don't know if it was actually 12, but it was, a solid, a very substantial number. So to me, it makes more sense to have these complexities arise once and then spread throughout that entire lineage than it would for these complexities to arise in the beginning and then be lost through a lot more lineages.
Yeah, but I don't think these,
even if there was a pressure, the pressure to have a smaller genome size, that sounds like a very realistic thing. That might be that's
that's what Lenski is showing a great deal of evidence for. But the thing is that I think these structures, these eukaryotic structures that we have, are more prolific and more probable than we thought they were. And so there were a lot more of them. So rather than a leuca, it was more like an entire population. And then eventually it settled down into a species. And that happened right around the time the DNA replication system developed. And then it took off. And then we ended up with, instead of an orchard, we ended up with a species, that was basically changing over time, right?
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. Like I say, it's something that I'm very open-minded about and looking at. And, Sell, of course, he had an orgasm when he read that paper. In fact, him and Emery and Otangelo had 5 or 6 orgasms every 10 minutes while they were reading that paper.
It's really interesting. It seems like they sort of also changed their narrative a bit from a couple of months ago, because they were evolutionary biologists are now saying that not all proteins share a common ancestor, at least an ancestral proteomic sequence, right? And
they love that.
Then we were no one's ever said that.
Right.
And then they're like, I feel like they sort of changed the narrative a bit to where it's less focused on like, these don't share common ancestry to like, I don't know. You say they don't share common ancestry, but to me, this makes more sense than a young Earth model. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like their interpretation of that has changed a bit in the past month.
Well, yeah, Sell stumbled on that on Saturday Night at the Atheist about, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, and he has just been going crazy over it ever since. He's like, oh God, this is just like slam dunk proof of creationism, and it's like he doesn't get, what we're saying about the prebiotic mess, right?
Well,
the prebiotic origin.
My whole thing with this origins or bust argument is it's not relevant to at least like metazoan evolution, right? You could completely blow abio out of the water, but we still share ancestry with chimps. That does not change our position on the tree of life. It just might mean that like the tree of life at its roots has some problems or something like that.
That's what I mean. They're like rabid squirrels when you try to pin them down on any one place in evolution, and they'll run to the next thing, right? You pin them down on eukaryotes, so the eukaryote emergence, and they'll run back to abile. If you pin them down on abile, they'll run to homo. They're running all over the place, and God, it just drives you crazy. You can't get them to sit still, because every one of these things, like the development of the eukaryotic line, is a very, very difficult problem, and it takes a whole lot of unpacking. And just when you start unpacking it for them, then they want to go talk about abile.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. Like I said, yes, there are multiple independent origins of protein families, but name one protein family that humans have that chimps don't have.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about specific proteins. I'm talking about like protein families.
Right.
And like, okay, so make a gene tree of every one of those protein families between humans and chimps and gorillas and orangutans, and then include like some other, like a rat or something as an outgroup, right? Yeah. I guarantee every single gene tree that you make will show more or less the exact same topology. And then every single like protein family tree that you make is going to show like between different orthologous and paralogous genes, which is what I was talking to Sal about, that they're going to show the exact same family tree, except it's going to be mirrored, right? So you're going to have two identical tree topologies based on which genes are orthologous and which genes are paralogous.
Yep.
And I think that beyond anything is at least evidence of all of hominidae sharing common ancestry.
Okay,
and if you can say that like humans share ancestry with chimpanzees, then why do you care to argue against eukaryotes being able to like pop into existence?
Right.
I think CRISPR had a couple of months ago, he had a very good conversation with Maddox about how, hominini is the 2+2. If you can debunk 2+2, or if you can prove 2+2, then you can start talking about, calculus and multivariable and all that kind of stuff. But if you can't agree on 2+2, then there's no point in even talking about, the more advanced topics.
Right. But Sal dismisses that whole phylogeny in two ways. He'll talk about it and he'll agree with it and say, oh yeah, it looks just like evolution. And then he'll say, oh, but it's improbable that these NLSs happened. And then the second thing he will say is God did it that way so that we could do experiments, so we could learn the things we've learned in the last 40 years about human biology. So he thinks that God built everything that way to lead us to the glory of God. Right?
Well, I think also yeah. Well, I don't think. Sal was trying to justify it, and David Neff was trying to argue against it. To me, I don't really see much of a benefit in talking about like what this omnipotent being had in mind when it did it. Because even if this omnipotent being exists, right? I'm not outright dismissing it here. If that being exists, how could we even come close to understanding why that being did what it did?
Right.
So for me, it's not even like it's not worth talking about, really.
Where in the Bible does it say that God created phylogeny so we could do medical
so that we
testing?
could do like animal testing? Yeah.
Right.
But,
yeah.
To me, I think the biggest way that Sal gets around talking about like specific evolutionary relationships, which he admits are very apparent is by just sort of dismissing baraminology. You know, because if you believe in young Earth creationism, you have to believe that certain animals were created in a specific kind. Those specific kinds were taken onto the ark, and then they radiated out from there. Like, that's what you have to believe if you want to call yourself a young Earth creationist. But he just sort of says, like, baraminologists, they do their own work. You know, I'm going to be over here talking about something completely different.
Yeah, but how does he dismiss them like that if he believes in a 6,000-year-old Earth?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's my biggest problem, right? With, I guess, the things that Sal is saying. It's just that, you know, you have to have your own interpretation of, like, okay, so let's say, all right, let's throw out baraminology. Do you think humans share ancestry with chimpanzees? He would probably say no. But do you think chimpanzees and gorillas share ancestry? Do you think they share ancestry with orangutans? And I think that thinking sort of makes him uncomfortable, which is why he only ever includes one great ape in his tree topologies.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I think that's probably why he doesn't talk about baraminology. Sorry, what were you saying?
One thing I just wanted to point out, and during that that talk that you guys, or this stream you guys are kind of talking about, was I loved it how Dr. Dan pointed out to Sal the conspiracy crap right towards the end. You know, he kind of laid it out and said to Sal, you know, look at Sal, the scientific community is not conspiring against creationists, basically. You know, I'm just kind of paraphrasing what he said, but you know, and we're just, you know, the scientific community is just following the data where it goes, and we're trying to present what we know thus far. And I loved how he pointed that out to Sal, that you know, what the community's not against you, Sal. It's not a conspiracy, you know. I love that.
I will also say Sal is probably the least bad about that out of the people we talk to on YouTube. Because, you know, I mean, Sal is actually trying to pursue at least some sort of degree in some way. He's trying to do like some sort of research, even if he doesn't really plan on publishing it in like a secular journal, right? So he's still participating in science. There's a lot of people like Maddox, for instance, who would just like outright dismiss the consensus of scientists because, like, you know, oh, well, of course they're biased against creationism. They don't want that to be true, you know? So I think I agree that whole conspiratorial mindset is just incorrect, but I also do think Sal is probably the least bad about it out of like the YouTube dudes.
Yeah. So I wanted to show this sequence motif again. You know, there's a Wikipedia article on it, and basically what this is telling you is that, okay, there's a recognition for, let's say, a Lex-A binding motif. And what it's telling you is that when they look across different species or even different proteins in a protein family or things that will bind, they will find that there's always, like pretty much always a GAA, but at least an A. And then it doesn't matter, as the letters get smaller, it tells you that they matter far less, that there's a hell of a lot more variation. So these are the conserved sequences are the highest. So we have the GAA and we have GTTC, and that will pretty much bind some of that protein, right? But if you have even just an A and a T over here, you're going to bind some of that protein. It's just going to be far, far less. So these sequences are in all the protein databases when they talk about, you know, how things bind or how things are conserved, and they'll show you these sequences. These are pretty. It's just a really interesting little graph, DNA sequence motif. So, but you've seen it. Have you seen this before?
Yeah, of course. I don't know. I think those are also really interesting because it shows which sort of variation is going to be highly selected for, and what sort of variation is more or less free to do whatever the hell it wants.
Yeah.
But it also you can see like instead of trying to form like the probabilities of like 20 amino acids in sequence, you know, you really just need like, you know, you need GAA. That's only 3 base pairs to be sequentially ordered. What's the probability of that, right? It's 1 over 4 times 1 over 4 times 1 over 4. You know, there's going to be millions of those sites in your genome. So of course, you know, things are just going to happen like spuriously.
And that leads you right to what the ENCODE project found with this, you know, mess of things being being transcribed and translated into the cells, or at least transcribed, to some. So I mean, we have this mess, and out of that mess, there is going to be. I mean, it's almost like a black box machine. It's either going to work or it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, then you have negative selection, and it's gone. If it's neutral, it'll probably hang around for a while, possibly a long time. And if it's beneficial, the damn thing is going to lock in. And that's just how it happens. And the probability, so that's like I was arguing with, or Danny was saying that abio is improbable. It's the same kind of thing for abio. There's the same kind of low probability from one step to the next. So, I mean, high probability from one step to the next. A lot higher than.
I think just the term, at the risk of being a Danny, I think the term probable versus improbable is just very ambiguous, especially in that context. So I think, just outright saying that abio is improbable or abio is probable isn't very useful. I think it's more important to talk about what are the probabilities to go from one step to the next step. Like what is the probability that we landed on Earth? At some set probability. What are the probabilities that lipids start binding with each other? Well, that's pretty probable. What are the probability that these lipids encounter some other sort of like ribose, like just some sort of sugar? That's also pretty probable, right? So I mean, if you multiply all of those probabilities together, it's going to be really, really low. But if you're accounting for things like selection and you're just looking at the probabilities between steps, that's where you're going to actually start seeing like relatively likely events happening.
Yeah, the probability of jumping across a stream without getting wet is pretty fucking low, but the probability of stepping from one stone to another, it's pretty easy, right? So the whole thing we're doing when we look way back and try to figure out how the hell did eukaryotes come to be, or how did abio get ticked off, we're looking at the stepping stones, and the problem is that this river is very, very wide, probably from here to the sun. So we got a lot of stepping stones.
Yeah, and I just don't think it's completely accurate to say it's probable or improbable, right? I think it's more context dependent than a lot of people are thinking about it as.
Well, those are called back of the envelope probability calculations, and if you do that on the odds of you having stayed alive until you got to the stream today, it's astronomically improbable that you got here.
Oh, for sure. I mean, as Jorge said, looking back in time, the probability of anything happening is one. I mean, what's the probability that life even turned out the way that it did? Right? Probably a lot lower than the probability of abiogenesis happening. Yeah. Right. So that's another thing that you have to account for.
Yep. Okay, guys, I want to wrap up for the day. So I think we're gonna go undead. Is that okay for everybody?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
We're going undead. Goodbye, cruel world.
Stay curious.